All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. And thank you so much, Amy Rose, for joining us tonight and going to share your amazing insights with us. Now, before we get started with learning all about the digital economy, I just have a few quick things that I'm going to go through. So if you bear with me one moment, I am going to share my screen and we'll jump into it. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's AMA that is brought to you by All Things Blockchain, Women in Digital Economy. And we also partner up with Off-Chain, which I'll tell you a little bit about in just a moment. These AMA series are designed to help people learn from some of the expert voices within the Web3 ecosystem. Tonight, we're going to be speaking with Amy Rose, who is the CEO of Blockchain Australia, and she's got a wealth of knowledge that she is going to share with us. So please, as we're going through today's interview, please go ahead, put questions in the chat. We open it up to you. We're happy for you to unmute yourself, and we really like this to be an interactive session. I've just got a few things to go through. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Danielle Marie. I wear many different hats in the space. So I'm a Web3 educator and community builder. I delivered the Diploma of Applied Blockchain for TAFE Queensland. I'm also the founder of Women in Digital Economy, which is a new passion project that I have launched where we help more women through mentorship and educational programs enter in the digital economy. I'm the founder of All Things Blockchain, which is a nonprofit association that I founded in November 2020, which is just to help educate and build community. Co-founder of Off-Chain Brisbane, which I'll explain about in just a moment. And I'm also on the blockchain committee for the ACS. So I wear many different hats. If you want to get in contact with me, go ahead and just scan that QR code if you're interested in any of the above that I just spoke about. So All Things Blockchain, as I mentioned, we're a nonprofit association that we run free educational and networking events. You can go onto our website and learn more about our sponsors and our partners and the events that we host. These events would not happen without my volunteers. So I always like to acknowledge our wonderful, amazing volunteers that make this happen because even though I drive it, I couldn't do it without them. In addition to that, we couldn't do it without our sponsors. So all of our in real life events and all of our operational costs are covered by our amazing sponsors. So if you'd like to learn more about them, you can just go and check out our website and we've got detailed information on all of our sponsors. So our collaboration partners, I mentioned Off-Chain earlier. Off-Chain is also a nonprofit association, but it's global. So they have different chapters all around the world. So if you're traveling, for example, myself, I'm in Dubai at the moment, and I have connected with some of the Off-Chain community here in Dubai. They're all over the world. So I highly recommend that you kind of go and tap into their network if you're wanting to kind of grow your network outside of the Australian ecosystem. RFox, is going to be a metaverse platform where we soon will hopefully be hosting these AMAs inside the metaverse. And as I mentioned, Women in Digital Economy is my new passion project, helping and inspiring more women to enter in the space. I'm just going to talk about a few upcoming events, and then we're going to jump into the main event tonight. So we have a Bitcoin Pizza Day coming up. It is going to be in Brisbane. It is going to be a hybrid event. Okay, it's on May 22nd. For those of you that have attended our regular ATB meetups, we generally host them on the first Wednesday of every month, but we're hosting this one on the third Wednesday so that it could align with Bitcoin Pizza Day. BitGet is our sponsor. There's going to be some trivia. There's going to be a Bitcoin contest where you have to kind of guess the price of Bitcoin on the day of Bitcoin Pizza. So the announcement will be coming out very shortly if it hasn't already been published. So please keep your eyes out for that. You do need to register through the Eventbrite link to be able to qualify to win Bitcoin. So that's going to be a fun event. Blockchain Australia is a great resource for you to be able to find out local events that are near you. So they basically take all of the local meetups that are all across Australia and they put them into this calendar. Obviously, the screenshot's a little bit older. It's from February, but you can go on and you can see. It doesn't matter if you're in Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast. All of the meetups will be there. So it's a great source for you to use to find out about some upcoming events. So that's it for me in terms of announcements and information. So if you do want to connect with us, you can go ahead and scan that QR code, and we would love some more follows. We're really trying to grow our online presence because we've been Brisbane based, and now we are focusing on growing more nationally. So that's it for me. Now let's jump in and hear from Amy Rose. Thank you once again, Amy, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you. Now, I have some questions that I have prepared for you, but I really, really encourage the audience to put their hand up, ask questions. You can put them in the chat, because this session is really here to help you learn more about the industry. So first off, Amy Rose, what is the digital economy? People hear all of this term. So it's a two-part question. So what is the digital economy in your definition? And then what role does blockchain and DLT serve within kind of the foundation of the digital economy?
So I was lucky to have a conversation with, and I don't know if he's going to see this and probably say, why did you talk about our conversation? But anyway, I'm going to say it anyway. I had a conversation with David Palmer, who's the blockchain digital assets Web3 lead at Vodafone. And we were talking about the digital economy and the role that telecommunications and IoT and digital ID and all of these intersecting technologies have with the digital economy, and how blockchain, distributed ledger technology, tokenization, digital assets, all of these play a foundational role in the success of the digital economy. And he basically, he gave a really good analogy of where we are now, which helped me, I guess, imagine where we're going. At the moment, we are redefining the definition of infrastructure within the economy. So if you think of the traditional brick and mortar economy, you have your shipping and you still have your telecommunications, but instead of the supply chain and the logistics all being paper-based and I guess real world tangible sort of processes, we're moving everything to digital platforms. So the success of the rollout of that, which hasn't actually, I guess, come to pass yet completely, because we still have a whole bunch of work to do. The success of that is dependent on the foundational technologies. So what we know now is DLT and blockchain have moved from emerging technologies. I don't know if you remember that. It was the big buzz in 2016 or 2016, 2017, 2018. Then we moved to disruptive. Blockchain's a disruptive technology. It's disrupting all the industries and the verticals, and it's changing the face of business across the globe. So we've moved past that. And now we are a foundational technology, not just in the digital economy, but across the board in every facet of the world. Every industry is involved in some way in implementing DLT. So I think we are moving into just a digital version of the traditional economy. And with that comes a heavy requirement for trust and capability and efficiency and transparency and all the stuff that blockchain brings.
So for you, to summarize all of that, is the digital economy just essentially everything that is digitally online? Like, is that how you like?
No, it's economic activity, whether it be financial or non-financial. It's the trade of products, like it could be, or access to data or trade of data. In the future, most things will be tokenized in some way. I had a bit of a, I don't know if I'm going off track because I get a bit carried away. But so I had a debate at my dinner table last night, actually, with one of our tradies who my family have a construction company as well. And he was saying that YouTube itself would never disappear. In fact, he imagined YouTube might evolve, but YouTube would become, everyone loves scrolling, everyone loves watching reels, everyone loves to consume and feast on their feed. It's just what humans do. But I actually disagree with that central platform owning all the videos. In the future, I don't believe that there will be a middleman of that sort. For example, once we have increased capacity on our devices and we have thousands of terabytes on one device, we will be able to store a lot more. We won't need to use a platform to upload and share. When that happens, we would record a video on our phones, and we will be able to decide, for example, if we want to make that a public video or a private video. That publicity would come with, I guess, credentials, and you would be able to, if someone wants to watch it, you might get some reimbursement. If it's tokenized, someone might give you some credit for something. But it will mean that across the digital economy, across that mesh, across that web that blankets the world, it sounds a little bit Elon Musk, but once we have that, all those mechanisms in place and IoT and that tech stack available, we'll be able to open up whatever it is that we want to share with the world. And if you're scrolling and if you like a particular type of video that I've just got on my device and I'm sharing, you'll just be able to access that, not because you're on a platform, but because you're interested in that subject matter. So I think in the future, just because we have blockchain will change the whole dynamic of the economy and how we share and how we trade.
Oh, I 100% agree. And there's like so much I want to unpack with a lot of what you just said. My brain always just goes to, okay, great, but like how do we share that? Because at the end of the day, we use these platforms, whether it be Facebook or Google or YouTube or whatever it is. Like YouTube's a great example. We host all of our events on, we put the recordings, we put them up onto YouTube, not because we're trying to grow a YouTube channel. Like, I think, I don't know, we might even have like 20 subscribers, because we're not utilizing it as a channel to try to like grow our community. We literally are just using it as a platform to host the videos, right? And then we can share it and then people kind of go and watch. So I'm interested on where it will go in terms of like, how do people find it? Like, is it they've just opted in and they get a notification through their wallet, and then it just like, where does like
Look, I think the whole custody situation is going to change as well, and you'll be able to, like a library, organize all of your content. It'll be automated as well, because AI will say, okay, so you've got these videos, these are all public videos. Let's assign this description to this video. Do you want to share it with this community that's over here in this net base, or over here in this net base? And you'll be able to choose where you share it to, and which interest group, which will essentially be the coming together of a community, not because someone is organizing it, but because that is where interest comes together. And I imagine it more of a swarm base or a net base, where you would just scroll through different feeds. There is an algorithm associated with it, and you would just be sent to, instead of the platform feeding you, it would be your interest feeding you and connecting you like a matchmaker to a central group.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of holochain. So for those of you, I know that Amy Rose mentioned a little bit in the beginner, and just for some of the maybe beginners or new people on the call, blockchain and distributed ledger is just a form of distributed ledger technology. And there's quite a few different platforms. And so the two most prominent ones that I always think of is holochain and Hedera. Okay. Now, my friend Tom, who Amy Rose also knows, is a big holochain fan. So I've heard him speak a lot about holochain. I probably wouldn't do a very good job of reiterating what he said, but it's very similar. It's kind of like you've got these little different communities, and then you can decide if you want to kind of share, and then it's based on this kind of reputation system. And then, you know, if there's somebody sharing something and people in the community, they'll all kind of say like, oh, no, we don't want that in our community. And so then it's very community based, driven on how this content is being shared.
Yeah.
So it very much reminded me of that. And I kind of want to circle back. I feel like we kind of left, but
Yeah, we went off, and I'm sorry to everyone that's
no,
watching.
no, that's okay, because I think there's so many things to unpack, and hopefully everybody is also enjoying that. And I do have some more questions. But when you were talking about, these infrastructures and how the digital economy and blockchain is going to be kind of this foundation, it made me think of the new trending term, or if some people will say, we'll go into narratives, with a bull run, and D-pins seem to be the new narrative. So I kind of wanted to get maybe, so for those of you that on the call don't know what DPINs are, it's decentralized physical infrastructure networks. And we have all these DPIN projects. They're not necessarily new, okay? Like Helium's been around for a while, but then there's something like Hive Mapper that's new. We've got Demio, if you haven't heard of. So Hive Mapper is basically like a decentralized Google Maps. And then we've got Demio, which is trying to basically reward you for your data from your cars. So we've got all these different projects. What's your perspective on the DPIN narrative at the moment?
There's going to be a divide, because as much as I, and thank you for the soapbox, as much as I do get on the soapbox, and I envision a decentralized world to a degree, some of these will work and some of these won't. Just because humans by nature do like boundaries, they like organization. Some particular humans don't like authority, but most humans like to know what's right and wrong and just have that closure. Otherwise, we see chaos. So I do, and that's just a psychology factor. I think we need to continue building or aiming for a more decentralized world. But at the same time, we still require the mechanisms built by each other that will be centralized to a degree, so that we have so that we can take someone to court if they, do the wrong thing, or so that we can point to someone or a business or a company who has, poorly conducted themselves. I think as humans, we sort of need that at this stage. As much as I am a futurist, I don't see human nature changing. We do like law and order. That's all I guess I'll just leave it there. And blockchain and DLT is a form of order and control by nature, even though it's a different version of what we know now. It's still, really, it's one block after the other, and you can trust it because of that. We do like it, and it's attractive to us because of that.
Well, it kind of leads me into my next question without continuously going down that rabbit hole, because I feel that we could. So what are some of the most significant challenges? And then on the flip side, what are some of the opportunities that blockchain and distributed ledger technology are presenting in shaping the digital economy?
So we have some issues with respect to scalability, and I don't know who everyone is. I know a couple of people in this room, but I don't want to preach too much to the choir if we're in some form of echo chamber, but we do have scalability issues. What I also know is with the regulation side of things, we have a bunch of startups in Australia who, because of my role at Blockchain Australia, I was able to, and they're not, lots of these startups over the past, 3 or 4 years, they didn't become members, but I still have calls with businesses who were wanting to build in Australia. They decided not to because of that regulatory uncertainty. They were afraid that if they built, even in the worst case scenario, go to jail or get a fine, or not going to be able to afford certain licenses. So one of the issues with our industry is definitely an uncertainty factor. With that is the businesses who are offshore waiting to come in and gobble up some of the businesses who aren't as strong as they could have been if they had the certainty. There's also some businesses who are waiting for that.
Okay, Google, turn on the light.
regulatory certainty, so they can establish themselves here and become quite competitive with who we have, or with the products and services that we have on offer here in Australia. So we haven't seen anything yet. And so that regulatory uncertainty has played a massive role in how we innovate in this country. And it's not just our industry, it's across the board, particularly in medtech, which I'm involved with as well. So there's interoperability as an issue, but the opportunities will always, with blockchain, outweigh, or DLT as well, obviously. I'm trying to move away from just using the term blockchain to give all the other DLTs a little bit of sun. But look, we can't deny the fact that we're revolutionizing the financial system. We have changed. So I look to other technologies and their lifespan. And I look to, let's say, AI, who I think the 1960s, they've come a long way, and more recently, their mass adoption stage. But blockchain, I would say over the past 10 years is our lifespan. And we've achieved a lot as an industry. We have come so far from a decentralized cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the only one back in the day, to DeFi and DAOs and tokenization of pretty much everything in a space of 10 years. So we're on that trajectory and not slowing down. So I think the opportunities, we ain't seen nothing yet, but also we're moving so fast that we should probably try and stay ahead of the curve as much as possible, leverage from what we know in other siloed industries who are intersecting. And yeah, I think collaborate and work together more rather than, thinking we're the bee's knees all the time. There's a lot of opportunities out there to build with other people and other industries.
Yeah, co-collaboration is definitely key. I think when you're talking about, regulation, one of the things that popped into my head, and I'd love to get your perspective before we move on and talk about some real world applications. But recently, one of the headlines that has made the news is Spain banning WorldCoin. And so for anyone that doesn't know about WorldCoin, just quickly high level, they've got these things called orbs, okay? And these orbs are, anybody can operate an orb. And now I'm not a WorldCoin expert, okay? So I don't know what the requirements are, but basically then if you want to go and do proof of humanity, so it's not proof of identity, it's proof of humanity, you're supposed to go and scan your eyeballs. And then from my understanding, you basically get a wallet attached to, that scan, that biometric scan that they use. And apparently Spain is now saying that they want to, ban, and they want them to remove all of the data, which we all know on the blockchain, it's not supposed to be possible. So I think it just, unpacks all of this. I feel like sometimes in the Web3 space, not all, like you're saying that some companies haven't come to Australia because of the regulatory uncertainty or whatnot. But then I also find that the other half are just like, oh, we're just going to build it and we're just going to go and we'll just deal with regulation later. And then we've got countries like Spain saying, okay, hey, we're banning you and we demand that, for privacy laws that you delete all of that biometric data that you have stored. I don't know if they're actually, from my understanding, they're actually not storing the biometric data. I think it's just a proof of humanity, and then a wallet kind of goes with that. But then when I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, because I thought that the whole purpose of the proof of humanity was to we have an issue with bots, right? In the decentralized world, okay? And I also heard that, Elon Musk is actually trying to, I know somebody, a social account that went down by half because they were bots, right? And so we're trying to solve this issue with bots. But then how can you, make sure that identity, doesn't become a bot? So I feel like it's just such a rabbit hole. But what's your, now that I've kind of given all that context, like what's your perspective of Spain coming along to WorldCoin and basically trying to implement some regulation after the fact?
They couldn't do it before the fact. Those guys were quick. And I think honestly, they're probably the first who are going to try and I feel like it sets a precedent too, and the world is watching. Good on them for that. That was some serious overreach. Maybe I don't know if I should be commenting on it, but that made me feel very uncomfortable. The way that they were proving identity in that way. It's not so far though
But it
from.
wasn't, from my understanding, proving identity. And please, if anybody knows more than I do, or maybe Rose, please feel free to chime in. But from my understanding, it wasn't proving your identity like, hey, I'm Danielle Marie, scan my eyeball. It was literally, I'm a human, scan my eyeball. Like, that's what I thought the objective was.
Look, I don't actually know what
Mm. Anyways,
whether it's
interesting.
scan or save that retina or anything. I don't know what they did with that data, but they probably could have done it a different way, proven humanity a different way. It was, the world looked at that and cringed.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Well, it kind of takes us into the next question that I have for you. And please, as I said earlier to the attendees, please go ahead and put any questions that you have in the chat. I am going to be opening it up to you shortly. I've got a couple more that I have pre-prepared. So speaking of kind of the, deepins and, WorldCoin, that kind of leads me into, so what are some of the real world applications of DLT in the digital economy?
Where do I start? Okay, so real estate tokenized. I think so. Proppy is facilitating international trade of real estate. I don't know. I don't know if Electra is across this, but I don't know if it came from Electra actually. The information on Proppy. There's tokenized collectibles, and I'm not just talking about NFTs. I'm talking about actual pieces of art being shared and owned by multiple different people. I like what Ainsley is doing. Also, Ainsley Boyan in Brisbane, tokenizing gold. That's pretty good. What else do we have? Sport and what MasterCard is doing. So MasterCard is tokenizing, I think, events as they happen. So when someone scores a goal, you get some NFT, I think. I don't actually know the ins and outs of exactly how that works, but MasterCard's probably one of the biggest companies who is well into Web3 and tokenizing. And obviously royalties, actual Royal, the music platform, who's tokenizing music and rewarding artists for distributing their creative genius, I guess. But look, I don't really know. Yeah, there's a lot. And I think from the conversation with Vodafone, the big players don't talk about it enough. They don't tell everyone. So Samsung doesn't tell everyone that they're using DLT and Knox. You have to really dig to find that your phone is the security behind your phone is actually DLT based if you've got a Samsung or an Android
Oh,
phone.
wow, I didn't know that. But the data's not being stored then?
No, not quite sure of how it works, but it's more of a barrier to entry of different players, I believe. But you can look it up. And I think if you want to have a listen to David Palmer, there is on all of this sort of stuff as well. There is a podcast that will probably dive deeper than I have tonight, going off on all my little tangents on what the power of Web3 is in the digital economy with respect to digital ID and trade and IoT. And so Vodafone is also, I'm going on about Vodafone, I'm very impressed with what they're doing. Like tokenizing, not tokenizing actually, they're using blockchain for data roaming internationally so that they can interact with other service providers. securely. So that's a completely different telecommunications ballgame with respect to DLT. So I don't know, like I could go on, but there are massive companies like the cloud-based platforms who are engaging with Web3. You can just move your startup into the cloud. Yeah, it's there's a lot.
There's a lot. Well, speaking of that, I shared one. Maybe when you're done, you can share some of the name of who you're talking about and that property. I shared one, Lofty.ai, which is just one I know off the top of my head, that is doing fractionalized real estate. I just quickly Googled and found that article on Vodafone. But something I forgot to mention actually in the new announcements, because it's new. One of our volunteers at All Things Blockchain, she's also one of my students. We've created a directory hub. So if you go to All Things Blockchain, it will say like ATB directory. And basically how it came to life is that when I'm teaching, I come across so many different websites and platforms. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I kind of like forget about it. And then I'll like come back and I'll be like, oh, what was that? That platform that was doing something in, whatever industry it is. So she's gone and divided it into different areas. So real world assets, gaming, decentralized storage, and categorize them. And then also doing, a little bit of a background check to hopefully make sure that they're not like some like dodgy project, just to keep as a resource for like almost like kind of research hub or tool. So, and if anyone's interested in that, you just go to the ATB website. There's a little opt-in form. We'll email you the link to the directory. But then also if you have a project, whether it's yourself or somebody else, that you would like us to list it, then you can also, there's a form that you get when you want to subscribe to the directory. So it's a cool resource or tool.
Yeah,
I need to start spreading the word on that. Yeah, because we only just launched it at the start of the month. So I'll have to add that into my introduction. All right, last question for me, and then we're going to open it up to the audience. Pathways and skills that you kind of recommend for professionals that are wanting to kind of aspire to kind of entering in this ecosystem. If somebody is, maybe in a kind of a Web2 based job and they want to transition into digital economy. I love the word digital economy rather than Web3. What kind of direction or pathways or skills that you could kind of say to somebody that wants to transition into a career or even build their business in this industry?
I want to say that you need to be really resilient in this industry. You do age about a decade for every year, so you need to be tough. And I would say, if that scares you, it's probably not for you. But I think you need to aim to become an expert in something, because going through that, and this is, I know it's not specific to Web3 and crypto and the digital economy, but if you aim over 2 years to become an expert in something, you master that resilience and the dedication, and there's a journey that you go on where you're forced to not give up and choose something within the digital economy. The world's your oyster there. Master it. It'll probably be a niche topic. It might be custody or quantum encryption. It could be the intersection of AI and DLT, whatever it be. Become an expert in something. Just choose over 2 years. Just spend day in, day out as often as you can reading and writing and teaching. That's my.
No, I agree. I always say for my students that are studying the diploma, it's so that the industry is so wide and so vast, right? And so they're like there's so much to learn about, DAOs and NFTs and digital identity and IoT and blockchain and AI and blockchain, and like it's so wide and can go so deep, and decentralized finance. that I usually say that find something that kind of interests you. Like I find for me, I've been in the industry for a few years and I feel like I still haven't scratched the surface. Like I recently started doing some project management work with a Web3 consultancy agency, and it's a whole different side from like the tokenomics and like the architecture of, you know, the NFTs and like, you know, and like it, I would like, I sometimes I get off those calls and I was like, oh, I thought I knew about crypto and blockchain and I really don't know anything. And I've been in the industry since 2017. But I also did go down that, you know, that choice of where I was going to become an educator. And I specialize in educating beginners and helping beginners kind of learn those basic kind of foundations that they need. And I saw that Dra put a good comment in there, like learning about Bitcoin and why it started. In my free crypto for beginners course, it starts of what is money, what is blockchain, why was it started? So you need to kind of understand those kind of fundamentals. So I've been good at teaching that, but while I've been focusing on, you know, teaching others the basics, I feel like I've missed out on that opportunity of really kind of going deeper on the technology. So I think that's really kind of great advice for some people to pick one thing and become a specialist in that industry or in that topic within the industry. Well, those are the questions that I have. I'd like to open it up to the audience and to see if there's anybody that has a question. I can't see any that have been put into the chat, but if you want to, please, you can either unmute yourself, you can put it into the chat, or maybe, you know, we've covered it all, and I hope that you've gotten some insights. But if nobody else has any questions, my question is, let's talk about a little bit about Blockchain Week that is coming up, and tell people a little bit about what they can expect with Blockchain Week this year.
Okay, well, that's good timing because I am neck deep in it today. And I was looking forward to a conversation not about Blockchain Week, but anyway.
Well, just high level, because I know it's coming up, and I thought, you know, well, nobody else, and I think that's it's an important week for people to be able to tap into. So you don't have to give us the details, but just, you know, where is it going to be?
So
How can
yeah,
people get involved?
it is all in Sydney this year. So previously, over the past 3 years, it has been over the country. So we've decided to just pick one city, and this year it is Sydney. We'll be elsewhere next year. We also had some feedback last year on the, how do I put it, the corporate approach that we had with, particularly on day one last year, which I'm not going to apologize for because I think timing is everything. It was really important to have those conversations. But we had some feedback that as an industry, we should be focusing more on our builders and our innovators and those who are responsible for the success of the industry, really, because they're creating the products, they're building the digital economy and all the foundations up. So day one of Blockchain Week is about our builders, our innovators, showcasing our startups, use cases, demos. So we want to show the world, and it will be live streamed thanks to the ACS and Danielle at ACS. So we just really want to go hard, demonstrating the value of the industry on the wider economy on day one. Day two, look, I'm just going to go back a bit. Day one is on a Tuesday. It was going to be on a Monday, but apparently it's a public holiday, and I'm a Queenslander. I didn't realize that. So anyway, day one is on a Tuesday. Day two is on Wednesday. That will be very tokenization, digital asset focused with respect to, you know, those traditional businesses coming on board and entering the space, as well as our exchanges, a few conversations on scams and risks for the business, for the industry. And then there's the next day, which is we have a 10-year anniversary gala, which is a celebration of everyone who contributed to Blockchain Australia over the past 10 years. That includes, you know, our CEOs and our past board members and essentially the OGs from way back when. who will be, sharing some of their stories and photos and highlight reels, I guess, at the gala dinner, because it is our 10-year anniversary this year. We will be doing a digital asset breakfast, and that will be at Parliament House. And I don't know, there might be some people here who are over the age of 30 who might watch the ABC and Q&A. There's a show, it's called Q&A. We're going to replicate that, and we're doing a Q&A ourselves, an interactive event where the audience, similar to this, I guess, except way more exciting, where the audience gets to interact with those on stage about decentralization and regulation and that intersection, or digital ID and overreach. And so there's some conversations that we're going to have that might trigger some people, which is great. What I'm super excited about, and probably most excited about, no offense to all the other, things happening and people who are involved in all the other things happening, but it's during Vivid Festival, which is where Sydney becomes a city of lights, and there's a lot of art, there's culture, there's music, there's just a vibe in Sydney during Vivid. Blockchain Week will take place during Vivid, and every year there's an NFT sort of celebration that is done under the banner of Future Art, who host a massive immersive party with NFTs and virtual reality and DJs and lights, and it's a lot. So we've partnered with them to deliver the after party. Yeah, so it is going to be wild, and I think everyone is ready for that sort of party. So I'm very excited about that. All in all, there's a lot happening. That's just an overview.
Thank you for that detailed overview. And that actually leads into Sanjay's question about that they're relatively new to the industry. They said that they're enjoying the session, but they said, you mentioned that blockchain, about use for blockchain in art, and wondering how it can be applied to distributed music or broadly in the music industry. So, and then you just touched on, music and Vivid. So maybe you can give them a little bit of insight.
Yeah, I think go to royal.io on that. So they're allowing fans to own a piece of an artist's music. So if you really like something like Taylor Swift, and you could be an early investor, this is how I understand it, and it's not financial advice, but with music tokenized, you can own some of the rights to that, and I guess make a profit in some way. But that's one of the ways. But also music rights. At the moment, I think the music industry and artists are the most, and I'm going to use the term ripped off. They have a really raw deal. And if we can track and trace those royalties and where they go, who's playing what at any given time, that's going to resolve some of the issues there. So I used to work in radio for a few years. I had a couple of my own radio shows, and it's very strict, and APRA came down pretty hard on the royalty side of things and overplaying songs and who can play what and at what time you're allowed to play it. And there's all these rules and regulations so that, they're trying to protect the artists from, not using the rights properly, but no one can police that 24/7. I think there needs to be, and we're still building that mechanism and that technology to manage that. And I think, like, just by default, DLT is a really good way to do that.
Yeah, there's so many different ways, and I don't know a lot about how blockchain or DLT is being used in the music industry, but I know that there are different platforms. I know that there's different artists that are using it as in to have direct contact with their audience, and then maybe a release of an album would go to their fans, you know, or like say if Taylor Swift was having a concert and you had the Taylor Swift NFT, for example, and I'm not saying that this is what it is, but like that they would release those tickets to those people first, right? And so that they are looking at all these different kind of innovative ways. Not that it's in the music industry, but there's a project called Pudgy Penguins. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Have you heard of Pudgy Penguins? So it's actually kind of a cute little story, and then I've got a few more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. But so I listen to Web3 Academy, which is now called Milk Road, quite a lot, and they go into these deep dives of these different projects. And so it started off as this NFT project, which I'm starting to realize a lot of businesses actually start off as NFT projects. For example, there's Berachain, which started off as these guys in Canada that made an NFT connection of bears getting stoned. And it's just like they've raised $42 million now. And now they're building this whole ecosystem, all because of this NFT collection. Anyways, so when you start to go down these rabbit holes, you're like, wow. So Pudgy Penguin started this NFT collection. Project was dying, you know, in the bear market. And then this dude came along, can't remember his name, was like, he saw the vision of basically creating these stuffed toys, which are Pudgy Penguins. And when you buy them, they're all now in Walmart, you get an NFT. So I think it's also a really great way of trying to onboard some people easily. Now, you don't have to go and mint this NFT, but you can. Anyways, they're in a beta where they picked 50, you had to do an application because it was only in beta, but 50 people that had the Pudgy Penguin NFTs could participate in the royalty. So now every time, so say that Pudgy Penguin gets sold in the Walmart, they will get a royalty of that sale of that Pudgy Penguin. So they're really playing with the whole IP and how can we use this technology. And so I find it quite fascinating. And I just love these different projects that are trying to use the technology in innovative ways to kind of make sure that the original kind of owners of that IP or kind of those original investors get rewarded. So yeah, I think it's fascinating. Sorry, I go on a little bit of a tangent, but George asks, George asks, could you speak to one or two of your top highlights from Blockchain APAC Policy Week for a Kiwi across the ditch who couldn't make it this time around?
Oh, look, I think the best things about these events, I love the Ripple event, which was fantastic. They run a very smooth, glitch-free event. So Rahul from Ripple is obviously very, very good at what he does. That was really informative too, very well curated bunch of speakers up there. I think with these conferences, the best, most rewarding yeah, I think it comes from, I don't know how to put this without just sounding like I go to pubs a lot, but so you know, when you go after the conference and you connect with people on a deeper level and you have conversations that are meaningful, and it's more than networking, it's, you know, taking off your suit jacket and just chilling and connecting with other people. That's what I really love. And that there was a lot of that at the Blockchain APAC Policy Week. And look, there was also a lot of roundtables that happened. Hopgood Ganem, I was in that one and I learned a lot about risk and risk appetites. And in Australia, we seem to have a higher risk appetite, I think. We're just like, let's just do it. Let's just break it and let's, you know, it doesn't bode well. Not for this particular industry, other industries maybe, but not fintech or DLT and crypto. Yeah, it was good.
Well, thank you. I think that I always say to, you know, all of my students and all of the people that attend our events, the networking is where a lot of that power happens. And I used to, when I very first started going, when I was learning back in 2018, and I went to any meetup that I could go to, I didn't understand half of what they were talking about, the people on stage. But what I would do then is I would ask the people afterwards, I'd be like, can you explain it to me like I'm 5? Because I really didn't understand what they were talking about, this cryptography things and what's proof of work. I don't understand it. And what I love about these events is that people are happy to share their knowledge with you. And then the great thing is by you sharing knowledge, it also helps you, like you said, the best way to become an expert at something is to teach it. So, and that's kind of the reason why I kind of went down this rabbit hole becoming an educator, because I knew that for me, I've always had dyslexia. I don't really learn from writing or reading. I actually learn from doing and saying, repetitiveness. So for me, becoming an educator was a great way. So I think networking is just such a powerful tool for growing and learning in the industry. And then also surrounding yourself by like-minded people. For anybody that is maybe just getting into this industry, you might not have people in your network that want to talk to you about Bitcoin and the history of it and the reason of it. So come to these meetups and connect with people. Well, Amy Rose, I very much appreciate your time. I know that you are one busy lady with all the things that you do, and especially now with organizing Blockchain Week. And I'm very excited, as always, for Blockchain Week. So one last question regarding Blockchain Week. If somebody wants to attend Blockchain Week, I know that tickets and stuff aren't available now, but what's the best way for them to stay up to date or participate or get involved?
So I would say the website hasn't gone live. It will in the next couple of days. Subscribe to blockchainweek.com.au. That subscriber list will get the first notification of tickets after our members. And look, there's going to be 15 different events. Friday is a fringe day, so there's going to be a bunch of events running there, run by the industry. So you just need to get in early, I guess. So subscribe, whatever you do with your inbox. I don't know how to unspam us or whatever the word is, but just
I think it
prepare.
depends on your email provider, because my Hotmail, that shows my age because they're not even called Hotmail anymore. You can always tell someone's what kind of email they have, sometimes their age, but it goes to junk, but my Google doesn't. But so subscribe. And then also, how you just said after your members, kind of like that same concept as my analogy of like Taylor Swift giving her tickets to her shows to her audience first. So if anybody does want to become a professional member, and this is not us trying to shill you to join Blockchain Australia, but I myself am a professional member. Any students that are on the call, there's even a discount for students, but you get access to the events early. You just go onto the Blockchain Australia website. I think it's only $150 for the year, half that if you're a student, but it is just a good way of getting their notifications. You get a newsletter, all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, as Amy Rose said, you can just go and subscribe on their website, and you'll also get a notification if you want to tap into those. Now, the first day is live.
That was a chill, Danielle. That was a very chill. Thank you.
No, but to be honest, it's hard sometimes because I think that Web3 Academy, which is now Milk Road, my students laugh because I just shill them all the time. You'd think that I was being paid. You would literally think that they're paying me, but they're not. I just recommend things that I think are valuable to me. And if they're valuable to me, then I think that they're going to be valuable to the audience and or my students, right? So I think Lee's one of my students. He's like, we sure do. Like I bring them up all the time. So yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought now. Oh, the first day, which we know is going to be live streamed because it's going to be hosted at the ACS, which I'm involved in helping. At this stage, do you know if any of the other events will be live streamed, or will it just be that Tuesday for anybody that can't make it to Sydney? They'll be able to tap into that event.
There's going to be another live stream day, depending what your flavor is. That's an international perspective day. It'll run from 8 till 12, and it might be on the Friday at this stage in the morning. We also are hoping to live stream the Q&A New South Wales Parliament House, just because we the questions to come in from the audience from wherever you are to the panelists on the stage.
Okay, I just muted Nick. I'm not sure if Nick has a question or if it was, but if you do have a question, you can unmute yourself, but I just wasn't sure if that button, but thank you very much, Amy Rose, for that explanation. So basically what I was trying to allude to is if you are unable to go down to Sydney to participate, you can still get involved by signing up for the live streams. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Amy Rose, for sharing your insights with us. I hope that everybody got some value out of tonight's session. And as I mentioned before, we will be hosting the Bitcoin Pizza Day party on May 22nd. That also will be a live streamed hybrid event, but it's going to be more fun. We are going to have like a trivia, so you can still participate in that, and you can still participate in the Bitcoin giveaway. So please keep your eyes and ears out for that. There'll be some news coming around that. And I will be hosting some more AMAs coming up in the near future, but I'm in Dubai at the moment and I haven't had a chance to get it organized. But there'll be some more coming in the next couple of weeks. So please keep your eyes and ears out for that as well. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Let's stop recording.
Thank you.